Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're starting off this news broadcast with a little bit of something different, an announcement that has been brought to my attention as we move towards this weekend, where the Nation Wars tournament will be taking place. So if you'd like to represent your nation, reach out to the Nation Wars Discord, which I believe I will have a link to down below in the description section. But that is not all, because this replay was sent on over to me by Che on Discord anyway, sent this on over because apparently some of the commanders we're going to be watching today are going to be playing for some of those nations in the Nation Wars. It's kind of like the Olympics. It's like Bar Olympics. Basically, every nation puts together a team and they go and they compete, and it's a lot of fun, and apparently some of the underdogs are going to be showing up today. Some of the underdogs that are going to be present in this match. Now, before we get into this, one more thing is that, of course, I will be casting these games. I'll be casting this weekend. As of recording this anyway, let's see, 6/8, so June 8th, this weekend, this next Saturday here. I believe it's on Saturday. We will have the Nation Wars. Feel free to tune in. That'll be on the official Beyond All Reason YouTube channel, and it may also be on the Twitch channel, so feel free to go check it out there. And then, of course, the other thing is that these little events, these games that have been played, these small team games, like the one that we're going to take a look at here today, are played the first Friday of every month. So if you're looking for a group of gamers to play with that is not necessarily a competitive format, but is a sort of, a more organized format to play some small team games in a little bit of a tournament sort of style, I've been made aware now that they apparently are hosting these games every single first Friday of the month, so tune into that. All you have to do is just pay attention. You can sign up for the whatever. Each nation has their own Discord, so I believe there's a bar. Let's see, there's a Netherlands, France, Germany, and then as well, of course, the main/regular bar Discord. All you have to do is show up to those Discords, and the event will be broadcast everywhere there, so you can participate that way. Already, though, off to a ripping start here as we have a 1-mech quadruple wind turbine start for our red team leader, a commander that goes by the name today of M999 King Mike. Alright, M99 King Mike, not actually the OS leader but is the red team leader. Oh, another thing. There's so many things to announce about this. I love it. I love when people get together and they come up with their own fun little ways to play Beyond All Reason. This game is so highly customizable. It really is moddable to the max, and I love that. So, as you might have noticed over here on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you will see that we have a little bit of a bonus assigned to each of these commanders. This bonus is taken, I believe, as the difference in the average of the open skill between the two teams. I think that's how that works. Otherwise, it's sort of semi-arbitrarily assigned based on the perceived difference in skill, based on the open skill between the two teams. Either way, it basically means the underdog team here gets a little bit of a resource bonus, which is kind of cool, right? It's something we've seen commanders and players try to do in the past, is try and balance out, like, big games. You know, it'll be like a 2 versus 8 or something like that, but the two commanders get a big resource bonus. I think it's always fun whenever they try and find commander combos like that, little resource bonuses and ways to balance games in otherwise unbalanced modes. Very cool to see. So that's why you might be noticing here that the red team has a little bit of a resource advantage. It does mean, however, that the red team is going to be, they have the home court advantage. They have every advantage going into this match here. So building up those metal extractors, building up those wind turbines is going to be crucial. One of the reasons why it's a little bit curious to me that King Mike went for those mechs is a little bit later on. Now going to transition into a little bit of build power here. As you can see, completely full metal and energy bars. In fact, across the board, the red team is having a big problem spending their metal. The blue team is as well, though, actually. A lot of full metal bars here for the blue team as well. Typically, about 3 minutes into a game, you would expect to have basically all of your metal drained, pumping out units with the commander until you have no more metal left in the bank, and then going ahead and moving forward. It screams to me that there's build power issues across the board here, but one of the other things that you have to be really careful about, not a problem that you normally encounter, but one you do have to be careful about when you're playing in these games with amped up resource bonuses and that sort of a thing, you have to be very careful not to feed units. Yeah. You can imagine, right, if you can produce, well, say 21% more tanks than the opponent, but the opponent takes 21% more efficient trades and suddenly eats up all the metal, you've actually given the entire advantage to your opponent, and then suddenly, well, we don't actually end up with the appropriate team with the response or with the advantage that they were supposed to have. It's one of those things about Beyond All Reason. The resbots particularly can be a huge comeback potential, but they also can mean that commanders that otherwise are in a disadvantageous state can suddenly come back in a huge way, and that's exactly, well, what the blue team is trying to push for here. We have loads of pawns moving forward right here for 10 Rotator 01 and Czar XT4, who know the longer that this goes on, the harder and harder it's going to be to maintain any kind of an advantage against these commanders that simply have more stuff. It means the red team can be more relaxed. It means they don't have to expand on the map as aggressively. They don't have to worry about any of that, not as much anyways, because, well, of course they can maintain an even game state by just having less. Missed a metal extractor right here. Now, mind you, just because that is the case doesn't mean that should be the case. For all intents and purposes, these commanders should be moving out of the map, should be claiming resource nodes, should be trying to build up as much of an economy as possible. That's just how it goes. Oh, green pawns were ignored. Uh-oh. This is a big run by. All of a sudden, 7 pawns make it through to the backline. Oh, wow, we start up a T2 lab. Alright, well, if these can be defended, then I think this will work out nicely, but the scout here on the T2 lab is super important. Yeah, there we go. Pawns blow up the E-converters and don't blow themselves up, importantly. It does mean that at the very least the T2 lab will be scouted, and it also means that now we know where those T2 units are going to be coming from. And indeed, commander without any kind of escort here will be jumped upon. D-guns are fired away, but we miss the opportune moments, and boom goes the orange commander in the blink of an eye. Our first comm snipe of the game right here, coming out from the blue and green commanders who managed to put together enough of those pawns to blast down that comm before it can become a problem. Alright. Run by is cleaned up right here. Build power is back to powering out that T2 laboratory. It's going to be another half minute or so before that comes up and before the T2 constructor waddles out from the field. I wouldn't mind a little bit more build power here, but of course energy is going to be the real crux of the situation for the orange commander, who may indeed go into some of those advanced solar panels. With the fact that they're so much more efficient, going into those advanced solars, well, it makes a lot of sense. There's been a heated debate as to whether advanced solar panels are worth it. Personally, I think they are. As a way to scale your economy very nicely into T2, sometimes you don't have all the metal. You don't have 4,000 metal, but you have 2,000 metal. And 2,000 metal with advanced solar panels can be huge when you're considering going up into those T2 units if you don't have the metal or the build power to go into those fusion reactors, advanced fusion reactors, that sort of a thing. But nicely done by 10 Rotator here. Kind of exactly to my point earlier, showing that the reclaim can actually, well, even the fields in a big way here. As all of a sudden the pawns continue moving forward. And yeah, there just isn't units on the field. We got the T2 lab up and we are going to start spamming out fiends. That's the right move. But the metal extractors have gone down right here, so the economy is in the drain for the orange commander. Has the tech, has the production, doesn't have the resources to actually spend any of it. Isn't that just a shame? Construction bot trying to build back up those metal extractors here. It's a fight between the construction bot and the laboratory to produce those T2 units. Second Fiend does roll out of the lab and is going to be a very useful asset for shutting down these T1 swarm bots. Oops, self-demicro right there. I'd love to see it. Every time I see self-demicro, I get a little, I get a little bit excited that the future of Bar is nigh. Beautiful run-bys right here from the blue team, though. I love this. Getting aggressive early on like this is crucial when you're in a disadvantaged state. Maintaining some sort of aggression forces those units back to defend. It means that your base isn't being harassed, and this economy can continue to grow, continue to scale, and eventually outscale the opponent here. As you can see, the red team... another snipe right there. Nicely done. The Fiends managed to take out the green commander before it can hit the laboratory with that D-gun cannon, managing to deliver, well, a handsome 1,000 or so metal onto the front lines there. This one pawn has been such a pest, though. A single pawn in the back line being such a pesky little bugger here. Constructor trying to do a citizen's arrest. We have grunts being produced. We have fiends. It's tough because at this much build power, there's not really any way to pump out any one unit super quickly here. Well, oh, grunt. Oh, he's thinking about it. He's really trying. A little bit of mismicro right here from the orange commander, Desta Pilar. The, yeah. Orange commander here for the red team does eventually clean that pawn up, but my goodness. That pawn has been the scourge of this backline. Luckily, there's another constructor to rebuild these mexes, but we need those up and running immediately. Can't afford to stall those out any longer. This aggression has been tremendous. As you can see, the blue team maintaining a slight advantage at 5% here, despite having a huge map advantage. All of that is being largely offset by the fact that the red team just produces more stuff. Metal for metal, the red team is just better at producing metal and energy. Yeah. It's actually very difficult. It's really, really difficult to read those armies when you're playing on the other side of this, when you're playing on the blue team side of this. This can be a very difficult moment where you think you have a huge advantage because so much damage has been done in the backline right here. You can see the orange and yellow base are in shambles. When in reality, it actually isn't as big of an advantage as you probably would think. They kind of are offset a little bit, but ultimately not really in that bad of a spot. And with these fiends coming out, that T2 advantage is going to be huge, and all of a sudden, more and more of these T1 units are falling. More and more ground is going to be reclaimed here by the red team. Resbot going to be caught here. Oh, nice micro. Okay. Grunt Fiend is one of the most popular combinations of units in the game. They have just a perfect blend of damage and speed. There we go, yeah. Orange Commander realizes those mexes have been down, but man, those have been down for a while. Resbot needs to get to work. If this Resbot was reclaiming from these corpses on the front line, this would be perfectly fine. Fiends would be coming out the lab, this would be A-okay. But it's just the slightest bit of miss micro, right? It's these little details that add up over time. Bomber's now headed across here, my goodness. What a play as the Seafoam Green Commander has realized, hey, wait a second, my teammate did a bunch of damage, might as well jump on top of that. Bombs away on top of the red or orange base here. Bomber's taking a little nappy. Buying time for anti-air, which I did see earlier, but I guess we don't have it anymore. Bombs away onto the wind turbines, and most importantly there, the build power. Oh, there it is. Haha, the pop-up ferret. The pop-up anti-air missile battery. It technically can cloak itself too, which is kind of interesting. It's one of those things Armada put cloaking on for no real solid reason. They just kind of figured they had a little extra space, they may as well throw a cloaking generator on it, but it doesn't necessarily serve much of a purpose. Nobody ever builds those anyways, so despite them being pretty good, actually, I would say they're actually, yeah, relatively powerful. Alright, Chop Chop Destipilar. I feel like we've watched this commander a lot this game. We'll rotate around here as we do see T2 out and running here for Zor. Has managed to get a couple of those hounds out and running, and are going to be firing away nicely here against the thugs that are slowly walking forward. Boom! The first connection from that fat boy does land, though, and this should be the moment that Pydra has to take a look at this and say, maybe I don't want to throw away all my T1 units into T2 to only be obliterated, or, worst case scenarios, eaten up and turned into T2 and sent right against me. Now, fortunately, actually, for the tank commander, most of those corpses are being destroyed by the fat boy firing into the distance there. But you can imagine, right? Several thousand metal worth of T1 units thrown down the drain and handed to Zar, who's more than happy to turn that into a whole bunch of hounds. One by one, the units are falling right here. Radar and radar jammer make this very difficult to push into. Basically impossible to push into. Oh, some friendly fire right there, unfortunate. Basically impossible to push into with T1 units. The only unit that might be conceivably useful here are Ticks or Rovers/Rascals. Any of those fast-moving units that can sort of bypass the siege units here, the Hounds and the Fat Boy, just causing them to do a bunch of friendly fire damage, getting underfoot. Not necessarily a tool here that's going to be effective for dealing with them, though. There we go, Fat Boy within range once more. Sort of the Armada Czar, if you will. It kind of functions similarly, in a similar role, but not necessarily the same way. Oh, big army pushing in now. We're not spreading them out. Situations like these, it's crucial that you spread out your pawns. By just right-clicking and dragging, you can make a huge spread of those units, and it allows you to get a much more effective surround. Yeah, you can see that Fat Boy doing a great job of killing all these. Man, so hard to kill one of those Fat Boys. They are super, super tanky. Despite looking quite fragile, I'll say, with those big stompy feet and that big long schnozzle. Yeah, they're definitely a brutal engine of war. T2 Mex is up and running right here. Zar has gone ahead and got to good old-fashioned T2 tech. We already have the T2 Mexes up and running, churning out metal every single second. Green Commander upgrading their Mexes as well. We have T2 up and running here for the Purple Commander. Nicely done by the blue team. Hey, holding in here. Altogether, a relatively balanced match. I love that. I love when we give a advantage to one of the teams, and it does end up equaling a pretty, well, yeah, pretty even match. A pretty nixed advantage for either team. What a weird surround right here for the Purple Commander. Finds, the suspect, that is, finds themselves completely surrounded by rocket bots and grunts. Those T1 swarmers will get on top of all that and eat it all up. M99 King Mike will move on over in that direction to try and claim a whole bunch of this. There is a whole bunch of these missile trucks, which is a little annoying. Not the end of the world, though. They can tickle a commander to death, but not quickly. Realistically speaking, these Janus are ultimately going to be a much bigger issue here for the Red Commander. Yeah, trying to micro, wow, okay, getting a little boost from the Janus there. It's a constructor that can fly. Trying to micro its way towards the constructor, or the commander wreck here to try and extract as much metal as possible. Ooh, Mike is revealed. Looks like the Purple Commander will not jump on top of that one quite yet. Waiting for the opportune moment right here, okay. Loads of T1 units stalled out right here. We have nearly 2,000 metal worth of T1 units not finding much effect. Cracking these light laser turret defenses or trying to harass down Franksa, who is only at 8% HP. My goodness. Worth remembering here that as we get into this, well, as we are well into this 5 versus 5, each of those commanders is much more valuable than they would normally be in an 8v8, right? I mean, it is the win condition and beyond all reason, at least normally. Oh, that's a killer D-gun. At least normally is you kill all enemy commanders. And if you manage to do that, well, that's all it takes. Nice D-guns right there from Eagle Eye. Manages to snipe not only the Hounds, but also the Fat Boy. A tremendous thorn in the side right here of the red team on the left-hand side. Managed to get D-gun down quite nicely. Don't know where the radar and anti-radar bots went, but they were left behind, or they were killed, and otherwise it meant that there was no way to detect that commander here. When the commander is cloaked, all you can see is its radar signature. You can't actually see the, well, the physical outline of it, of course. Frank's in a lot of trouble, actually. Oh, the Maces don't know. Yeah. Pilar has no idea that the commander is that low. Obviously, you cannot see the HP bar of a commander whenever you're just looking at it. You, well, of an enemy commander, that is. You can only see sort of how scuffed up their armor is. Love that commanders have little shoulder pads, by the way. Feels very Cortex to have, you know, shoulder pads and, like, little shin guards and stuff like that. Ooh. Spyless, not paying attention to your Spyless? However that's pronounced, of the DME clan. Jumped upon by a whole bunch of fiends, and that's another commander down. Just like that. Frank says 1 of 2 remaining commanders for the blue team. They're dropping like flies, and that's not a good thing. They're losing the main win condition for their game. Self-D. Self-D micro. Oh, self-D right here would be huge. I don't think it's ultimately going to even matter, though. Yeah. So many of those spiders killed right there. Buying a whole bunch of time. Ooh, a big bombing run. Okay, bombers came across the map. Found the base right here of the purple and tan commanders. Actually, dual chainsaws cutting apart those bombers. Hey, look at that T1 anti-air static defense. Showing us some very effective defending. I feel like chainsaws are actually a little underwhelming. Like, I feel like they should be able to, similar to how Karganeth transfer their targets between the different missiles, I feel like they should be able to do the same thing. Lock onto a new target and the missile redirects and steers around to go correct and lock onto the other target. I don't know. Seems high-tech and very effective for me, especially considering you have to pay, I believe it's 850 metal for one of these? 750 metal. That's close. Can't win them all. Thank goodness T2 mexes are up and online. Oh, the T2 lab was bombed to pieces, though. I was just wondering why there weren't Fiend reinforcements. It's because we've got no build power, we've got no T2 laboratory, we've got basically nothing after those bombers managed to take it out. I see. The primary target here for those bombers was that T2 lab, and they managed to do that successfully. Bombs away once more as the wind turbines are the primary target. Boom goes that column of wind turbines. It circles around for another run. Anti-air is in place. And we're going to change targets. Doesn't look like it. It wouldn't matter even if we did. Bomber shot down by the anti-air tower. Alright. Nicely done. Centurions en masse going to be pumped out by the yellow commander. Alright. That's a cheeky strategy. I wonder if we're going to go for planes to try and drop Centurions in the enemy base. That's always a fun strat. Oh, no, we're just going to hand them off to the red commander. Okay. Against Bulls, I'm not sure how much those Centurions are going to be able to do. Bulls have huge range, tons of AoE, and do a stupid amount of damage. Yeah, they're kind of just a best case, or a last case scenario, really, against these T2 vehicles. Sort of the only thing with enough HP, enough range, and enough damage to actually do anything against those lightning tanks. But bull tanks are a different story entirely. A couple of Webbers here. In an eating battle against some of these other guys here. Oh, rocket spiders fire one last volley and it chain reacts all the E-converters. What a bummer. Pawns will get the surround right here and kill those, but one more of these does make it into the backline. This isn't damaging per se, but it is pretty annoying. You can imagine if this gets into the backline and starts reclaiming, you can eat up stuff over here. Killing it is nice, but how about getting the actual resources back? That's even better. Don't know that it's going to matter all too much right here for this blue Weber, though, as it does get shot down nicely by the pawns. Okay. Tank Commander, starting to think about production, perhaps. Pink Commander, also worried about production a little bit. E-converters going down is a bummer. Gotta remember, those E-converters also benefit from the resource production. This is a general resource production bonus, which means that E-converters sort of benefit twice, because you get double the energy from energy sources, and then you also get double the metal from energy conversion. So you actually can sort of double your advantage by actually having, by making energy and converting it to metal rather than just building the metal extractors. I mean, the mexes are nice; they're going to produce a whole bunch more metal for you, rather than normal. But this is a huge move. This is a great play right here from the purple commander. Marauder coming out. My goodness, yeah, the blue team in it to win it right here. We've gone for T3. All the way up to the T3 tech level as we start to pump out some of these earliest T3 units. We have a Razorback that's already been put together at nearly 4,000 metal a pop. Very expensive investment, but well worth it if you're ever facing an enemy that is largely comprised of small, light targets. Although Razorback targeting has been changed or messed up or something, or somehow has been ruined. I don't know exactly what went wrong with it, but basically whenever you remove command them, they cannot target properly, so they won't actually fire correctly. It's a bit of a weird issue that's plaguing Armada commanders right now. Maybe some Cortex hacking has ruined the auto fabricators that normally produce those Razorbacks and sabotage their auto targeting ever so slightly. Whatever the case may be, it's difficult to use them right now. Sheldon Ball firing away, trying to get some value here. Already chipping off 25% of that Razorback is quite nice, but the Marauder, if they have anything to say about it, are going to be storming forward here. They're going to take out a whole bunch of those Sheldon, ruining any chance that they had of dealing with that Razorback, and now we have... oh, a Sharpshooter is out, okay. We're reclaiming the laboratory, oddly enough. Sharpshooter goes down. Oh, D-gun, D-gun. Hey, nice D-gun. Catches one of those Marauder. Another one lives. Ooh. Risky, risky. Hydra trying so hard to D-gun those down, but doesn't manage to get the second Marauder or the Razorback, so they make it into the backline. All of a sudden, this is a really tough situation right here for the Hot Pink Commander with T3 units in the base. What are we going to do about it? Well, we could send the bombers. We have a load of Stormbringer bombers. Neither of these units are particularly good against air. E-converters pop. Sending that T2 constructor home with it. LLTs will be the solution here for the Marauder.
Battle started.
A little bit of a pause, a little bit of a restart here. Yeah, Razorback. Choosing targets. You can see every time it moves, it loses focus right there. I'm not sure what that is, but it feels like a targeting bug. They didn't used to do that. They definitely... Razorbacks struggle now. They struggle against, like, single streams of T1 units, which is really bizarre. Not sure what that's about at all, but it definitely feels like they've been sabotaged. Those Cortex hackers have been sabotaging Armada data collections. The data crystals have been disrupted. That'd be a fun mission, right? I know they're working on fleshing out a campaign. That's, you know, one of the long-term goals, anyways. That'd be a fun mission to choose on the Cortex campaign. You can choose to sabotage Marauders or Razorback. Looks like no sabotage needed here today. The blue team, despite a material advantage for the red heroes, manages to overcome the disadvantage and claim the victory with some experience, some tech, and some good old-fashioned T3 Marauders and Razorback rushing across the field here to save the day and win the game for our blue heroes. Thanks a ton for watching. If you did enjoy, please let me know what you thought about it down below in the comment section. Curious how you enjoy these games that feature, shall we say, asymmetric gameplay, featuring people of different skills with different ways of balancing things out. And I hope to see you in the very next cast of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.